Thank you, Martina. So we have actually not worse than a 8, so that's perfect. So it's actually, I think it's a very good day. We are now 14 participants. We had 48 people that were actually registered. So let's start with another question. Actually, I would like to know from you, who of you is a single contributor that wants to build up consulting skills him or herself, and who is actually a facilitator? So maybe you give me quickly the answer in the chat. If you're a single contributor, you let me know, you just write single. If you're a facilitator and you bring this consulting skills, how to teach it into your agency, into your organization, you write facilitator. Anyone wants to answer? Facilitator. Thank you, Anastasia. Facilitator. Perfect, Chris. Thank you. Okay, so I think we are most facilitators. Unfortunately, only two questions or two answers, but that's okay. I have actually made this just to manage a bit of expectations. This is definitely more like, this webinar is more for facilitators, how to bring it into your agency, how to develop it together. It's a DIY, do-it-yourself guide to really build up consulting skills. There's a lot of things in for single contributors that you can apply. However, it is not a training. We will actually offer, beginning of September, also the opportunity to do a real training in consulting. But the content and also the examples will be much, much more and much, much, much deeper. Additionally, we also will build up a little YouTube blog, because there's not many YouTubers that actually speak how to become a consultant. It's also something what we will do to actually join the exercise and train those skills. So thank you for sharing. Let's start now with the real content. A lot of you might not know, this is actually part of a community that we have in Europe. We are actually having an agency community, and we have several topics. And at the moment, we are looking very deeply into the transformation that we actually, as agencies, transform from account experts to consultants. And that's why we wanted to share the consulting skills with you. And we will have a second webinar on the 4th of September. It has been postponed to actually bring a bit more light into it. And of course, that is also putting on top to agile client development, because consulting skills on account manager level should also lead to better client development. If you're interested and you're not part of the community yet, you will actually get, after this call, on our mailing list. If you don't like this, please opt yourself out again. But we will contribute. We will actually take you on, and you will get every month a free tool, a free webinar that may help you to bring into your agency or also into your daily work. The agenda today is very easy. We briefly speak why it is so important to develop consulting skills. Then an overview, what are really consulting skills, what we see there. And then a very easy, well, very structured do-it-yourself guys, how you can actually build up consulting skills to really become on a much higher and much better level. Let's start first why consulting skills are really needed nowadays. Did you internally discuss already the difference between a consultant versus an account manager? No, no one wants to talk? So actually the difference is the following. A consultant is actually solving a problem. So normally the client does not know what will be the deliverable that we get. The client will tell you, hey, I don't know how to increase traffic on my web page. I don't know how, why, but my conversion rates are going down. They also will ask you, can you please investigate how my marketing budget can become more effective? So this is the typical problems they have, and they don't have a solution yet. And that's why you as a consultant will actually also generate your own demand. An account manager normally gets already a bespoke area of deliverable within this problem. For instance, or this deliverable. For instance, it could be, can you please do me the AdWords campaigns? Or can you do my Facebook strategy? Or can you do my SEO optimization? So it's already an area of scope, and that's why account managers, they work in their scope. They will not ask too many questions, maybe just to clarify something, but it's very much in a service that needs to be delivered. Then after clarifying these differences, who of you did already, sorry for that, who of you did already develop own consulting skills, maybe made a training, read some books? Was any one of you active already? Maybe just write no or yes. I would be very happy if you communicate a bit in the chat. We have 15 people. Yes, Anastasia, thank you for sharing. Yes, Eftimis, perfect. Yes, Maritina, thank you. So we have already quite a lot of reflected people that have made a lot of reasoning, thinking about that. That's great. Thank you, Dora. Yes, as well. Perfect. Only yeses. That's great. I love that. Yeah, then let's see what we see as important consulting skills. You know, I've briefly said at the beginning, I have been working for 13 years in Accenture, or like Accenture, who's in companies / strategy and also for a big in-house consulting department of a pharmaceutical company. And of course, in the beginning, when some agencies asked me, can you do something? I said, oh, consulting, you need to just learn by seeing, which is in a certain way true. But you can also actually look into fine nuances, what is behind consulting skills. What we actually discussed, what I discussed with a lot of clients and my own junior team with my partners, is actually that there is a distinct consulting skills that can be built up, because everyone can become a consultant with the right training and with the right mindset. The first one is definitely the relationship building, so that you're able to really connect to someone, that you can build up a relationship, because without a relationship, nothing of the other things will work. Then consulting mindset, that means a very deeply anchor to yourself, but also the way you listen and partner with people, the virtues we call it. Then a very sharp business acumen, that you understand how business is working, how you can actually quantify qualitative input. So if someone tells you something, that you can bring this into numbers and into plan. The fourth is actually meta thinking and structuring, to really understand the little pillars and the pyramid as McKinsey is actually defining it. The fifth is actually the value case and the conception, that you can really make a value case. What is the benefit taking it out, and how do we actually structure the project and the concept? The sixth is actually storytelling and presentation, to really convey a story and to present it. That's typical nice slides that you normally know from consultants. But not only this, also how you convince someone in a conversation. Then the last, or the most important one, is then to really create the demand and also really sell it at the end of the day. And the last one is the one that is most obvious, and most of you probably already can, is the planning and implementation, that you have a good client interaction, a good status quo, and also a certain kind of transparency, what is implemented and what is not implemented. Any questions to those 8 skills to be built up when you want to become a consultant? Of course, this is really, really a lot. That's why we have 2 sessions. Today, we will make the relationship building until the meta thinking. And in 4 weeks, we will go over to the value case and the conception until the planning and implementation. Also, since these topics are really, really deep, my team and we will actually publish every week now a deep dive again on our blog about relationship building, about consulting mindset. So we can read through that, and there's also a bit more flesh on the bone. As every one of you know, Naomi and I, we did, Naomi is my partner, we did actually a little neurology course or study. And it's very interesting actually how we build up new skills. We build up new skills with a long-term potentiation. So that means even when we do now a training, the training will not be as effective as you do frequently, at least for 60 to 90 days, certain kind of things that on your hippocampus, actually the acetylcholine, which is the neurotransmitter to learn, is actually connecting to the necessary other neuronal networks to really learn something. So I started 1 year ago with the yoga. I was very bad. I did not know any yoga terminologies, no vinyasa, statuses, nothing. And now after 1 year, since I do every morning the yoga, I'm actually really good. I'm very flexible in my body, and I also know all the terminologies because I have just trained every day. However, in an organization, in an agency, I think a long-term potentiation needs to be done with a certain kind of understanding. So you need a methodology as an agency, as an organization. What do we understand behind the consulting skills? Also, what kind of books do we read? What is our own playbook to become a consultant? The next one is you need to train this. Training means maybe a big training that you have a coach or you send someone to a training, but also daily trainings, weekly trainings, where you actually apply it in a safe environment, not with a client. Just to get you a feeling, in Accenture, Understand and Train in the beginning is actually really working in a very, very long online academy, not an online academy, actually a real academy of 2 weeks in Germany, 2 weeks in Chicago to just build this up and to go very, very deeply down. Then actually you need to apply it with a client and you need to get feedback there and you need to see also for yourself how you can become better. And last but not least, you need to also own it at the end of the day, that you develop it to the next level, that you actually create maybe some black belt people within your organization that can actually train other people to really become a consultant. Then actually the most important part is that consulting skills, yes, you can hire us. I'm very happy, but this will not be most effective. You as a leader has to lift the consulting skills and you need to build this up, otherwise it will be not effective. That actually will help you to increase your own effectiveness as a leader when you train this, because you will become more aware when are you a good consultant and when are you not a good consultant. I can tell you, even me, after 13 years of working with people, converting leads as consultants is actually always about the effectiveness and about the knowledge around it. And of course, it also helps you that you really develop and grow your people in your organization or juniors, and that also gives a very high satisfaction level. So that's why it's very important that you as a leader is really taking this as a very serious topic and really bringing this also to the level and implementing it in your agency or in your organization. Now let's go over and see a bit more in detail what we understand in the 4 areas of the consulting skills and how to really implement this and train it, also bring a certain kind of understanding in your organization and what is also behind it. In the relationship area, we actually see that there is the trusted advisor approach. So I have been certified as a coach for being a trusted advisor from Charles Green. So it's nothing really fancy. It's a nice book, and Charles Green really identifies 4 important levers of building up trust in relationships. The first is actually credibility, so that what you say, that you have a certain kind of expertise, so that you may be an AdWords account as a specialist, that you can speak about marketing. You need something that you're really credible about, that you've also maybe some references from other clients. Then, of course, you need to bring in the reliability, that what you say is also counting, that you make a summary, that you send the client the outcome of the discussion, and that the client sees, hey, this is really reliable, and we can actually build up on each other. You need a certain kind of integrity, so that means that you don't disclose too much of competitors' information, but that you also maybe disclose some things from you that are important to actually, that the other person is also disclosing something from the business. And last but not least, you need the customer focus, the customer orientation. Don't speak too much about yourself, about your career path, about your own agency. Ask really enough questions. Really, it's everything about your client, and to make your client win this battle. That's what is in a Trusted Advisor. We have actually a little questionnaire that we also send after the call, where you can actually answer some questions, and then you see your strength or weaknesses in one of the areas. Of course, it's a self-assessment, so everyone will be quite high. What is interesting is in Accenture, we did also clients' feedbacks, and then it was a bit different, and you could really see how clients perceived you, and if they really saw you also that you're very oriented towards them or not. So that could be also quite interesting. Then it's also very important that you understand the different personality styles. Personality styles, you may note it, is, for instance, the DISC, or also the MBTI. So there's normally these 4 colors, 4 different personalities or brain dominances, how people react. In total, it's 16 different kind of personalities. From a neurology point of view, it's not really true, because we change on a daily basis. However, there is certain kind of dominances, how people prefer to communicate, how they feel in a safe harbor. And that is quite important to train a bit to actually use this as a powerful tool in conversations with clients or leads, especially as well. And what we do here in our agency, in our little consulting firm, we actually make a little play. We have these postcards where actually we make virtual postcards to clients. We choose the color of the client. We say this is definitely a red client, a dominant client, and then we write a little vacancy postcard from our vacation, and we send and we discuss if that is the right communication style, what we can do better. Just to train this a bit. What would we do? That is now our little step-by-step guide. We would definitely try to really understand first what is if I would be you, I would check what is Trusted Advisor. We send you some documents. How can we actually integrate this as an agency, and how can we, or as an organization, how can we make it up living? Then I would also look into my own training, how to train social styles. We use Crystal Knows, for instance. It costs also €29 per month, but in comparison to some other platforms, it's actually quite affordable. You can also use this for sales to know with a prediction from LinkedIn what the lead might have as a personal style or personality style. And so you need something, and maybe you also take an external coach in. Of course, you can also come to us, but you don't need to. Look for someone. There's thousands of certified MBTI DISC coaches that you could take in, or other coaches. Or I have also some of my coachees, they said, hey, this is an important thing, Simone, I will do myself a certification. And they actually now they do this in their agency or in their organization themselves, which is also quite, I think, the most preferred thing, especially when you have more people in the organization. How you should train this? I think you should really train it on individual level, that you, in a one-on-one, when you talk about the client, in a customer board discussion, in a preparation of a meeting with the client, ask your colleagues, your employees, what is the social style? Maybe you bring it also into your CRM that everyone sees. That was an Accenture the case. This is a red one, this is a green one. So everything is quite streamlined. And I would also do, because it's a nice thing, these group reflections within a lunch or breakfast, where you write postcards to a client, where you reference and it's a fun thing, and it's actually joyful. It could look like this. So for instance, we make normally up here a little feedback. What we think at the moment is our trust quotient from my own point of view towards the client. In that case, that would be Rasmus. And how would I send Rasmus a little postcard from my vacation? So then we can really discuss, is that the appropriate conversation for a blue guy, or should we actually change this a bit? So then you get a bit this feeling about how to communicate and what to do. Any questions? Because I talk very fast. Any feedback maybe? Let me see if the chat is here. No, no one is. Anyone has already experienced something like to write these postcards? Or did anyone make another game? There's thousands of games for DISC trainings or MBTI trainings. No. No problem.
Hi, Simone, it's Naomi here. I can just say from my experience working with these postcards, it's a really great tool to practice on how to communicate effectively with your clients, depending on what communication style they have. So it's in this example, you're using, I think, a blue client. So what should you actually put the focus on in your communication? Is it facts? Is it numbers? Or is it more emotion and social? In order to know how to communicate, it's really effectively. It gives you a great advantage to build a trustworthy relationship in a much short period of time.
Yes, exactly. That's and it's a very nice safe harbor exercise, and it's also fun.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Naomi. Perfect. We will share this with you. So give us feedback. It's definitely fun, and it's something cool. Then actually the consulting mindset is something that comes from inside. In earlier days, everyone said, we just have to have, you just need to be born to be smart to become a consultant. Well, this is not really true. We believe that actually you can build up virtues. That's more like a mindset thing to really also develop a consulting mindset. And also, as Naomi can confess, it's about neuroplasticity. So our brains are actually changing and adapting to different kind of situations. So we also learn this. And the first virtue is actually know yourself. I will go deeper into that in the following slides. That you're able to listen actively. So that means that you can paraphrase, confirm, and summarize. Then it's very important to partner, to really connect to someone, and to also connect to others around your client. Also the ability to, or the virtue to risk, so that you actually maybe also confront with some negative, or that you also tell the truth. And to improvise, so that means that you are able to just maybe not stick to the script, that you improvise, that you see, okay, the client needs something completely different, and that you're also confident to do that. I will go very briefly in the 5 different dimensions. That's something you can also train, that you can build up, and that is definitely also quite good to reflect about in an organization. Let's see what is actually behind each of them. We actually say about know yourself is all about the values in action. That means values in action is the strength, because that is what you stand for. And what we actually did in a very nice round with Naomi and with my team on Tuesday was we made for each of the consultants a strength cube to see what is my personal values in action. We will share this beautiful little assessment that Naomi actually did, and we bring this, you can do this, and we also make a little picture from our cubes in there, sorry for that, to show that. And it's definitely something easy and a very joyful and deep anchor for each of your consultants or for yourself. Then actually the actively listening is a training that you can paraphrase. so that you actually summarize the words that you actually hear from the sender with your own words. So that is very important to just repeat and to say, well, I have understood that actually it is clear that it's true, or that you have understood it right, because the messenger can also say, hey, it was different. And then it's very important to verbalize. That means that the emotions are neutralized and you just take this on this meta level. You need to also ask the questions that you may miss to understand the full picture. And last but not least, it's very important to summarize what you have heard, ideally with 3 aspects. So that means to really say, well, I understood first, second, and third. I normally say it should not be more than 3, because more than 3 you will anyhow forget. That is something that can be definitely trained. Then the partnering is more a mindset topic. So that means that you really build to get on the same page with your client, to really understand, and to also forget about your own what you actually have on your agenda. Then you need to really align on your skill set. So that means if your client tells you that they have problems in procurement, just be very sure that you work in marketing, and also clarify this to just make a scope of your own work and also of your skill set. And also show the ability that you can connect to someone, because it's part of the problem that works in procurement with your marketing team, and that the clients say, okay, actually they have a skill set, and they also partner that they have an area of scope. So define who does what is also very important. Then it's very important that it's not only business, but it's also personal. So that means that you really get together, that you also speak about your vacation, about maybe the weather, and also that it's really a bit personal. I think the southern cultures, they don't have this problem, but more the northern culture, they have sometimes a bit of problem. Naomi can confess this. In the Nordics, it's even a bit more colder than here in Germany. You normally are very serious and just back to business and nothing private. And then it's very important that you're consistent with your communication. So that means what you say and how often you say it, and that you follow up, etc., should be in a very consistent way. That's something that can be definitely easily in a checklist done. Then it's very important to really risk. That means that there is ambiguity and that you can take something out of the ambiguity. We will also discuss a little bit about the meta thinking, and to be very, very confident when you are exposed to ambiguity, that there is a way of clarity and that you're not getting under stress. And last but not least, that you can really improvise. That means that you have the agility to coordinate, but also the speed to move fast and to do things in between. And also, especially the quickness that you can change something on the go. Because very often, as I mentioned before in consulting, someone tells you something, you think, it's like this, but then you realize, no, it's not like that. Anecdotes, I already told this in the last session in consultative selling. My partner in Accenture, the first one I worked with, I made all these beautiful storylines for any pitches, and then he never used the pitch. And I said, why did you not use it? I mean, I was working for a week on it. And he said, yeah, because I've realized we were not on the right topic. And then he just improvised on the whiteboard. And that's definitely something that needs to be, that you need to be confident with. How to actually build up these virtues. If I would be you, I would first define what is for me as the head of the agency, as the leader of the agency, indeed a consulting mindset, and I would be very precise on that. I would also create my own training about the consulting mindset to really bring this in, and I'm to really coach this and train this as a playbook. And I would also appoint someone within the agency, probably myself, and someone in the mid, like on B level, that can help you to really train this on one-on-one basis, but also in a group reflection about the consulting mindset. What we do here internally, we do individual reflections. So we do journaling for 5 to 6 weeks, where you do on weekly basis a reflection. How much did I really do now about risking, about partnering, about improvising, and really reflecting, and also write it down how you felt with that. We have a template here we will share. And we also play once a month a little game about risking, knowing yourself with little cards to just see, hey, this is really important, and we can, we have now a fuck up, because even me, after 13 years, or now it's even 14 or 15, I can also do fuck ups with a lead conversation. Maybe I was not enough improvising, maybe I was not really enough partnering, and I give myself feedback and I will tell that, and what was, from my point of view, the outcome. So something very simple, very joyful as well, and it's also good for the culture shape, actually. So I can just recommend this. Questions towards this? No? Then business acumen is actually the big topic that everyone knows who wants to go to the big 4 consulting firms or strategy consulting firms. It's actually this sharpness to really make very fast a business case, to understand the business model and to derive what is the value, what is the quantification behind it, and also maybe for investors, the assessment, would I invest in that or not? This is very simple. Also a recommendation here, also in English, there's several books how to prepare for interviews with consulting firms where thousands of cases are in. I would definitely have a look into one of these books, because that is helping to get this sharpness, and also how they tackle the cases and how they prepare also for these interviews. The first one for the business acumen is really to understand the market. So that means what is the sales channel that the client can activate. Then also the average basket value from, is it like once, is it B2B once, or is it like several times? What is the, or like the basket value is actually, how big is the order, the average order size? Then of course the frequency, how often is the client ordering, how often do they need the product or the commodity, the goods. Then the acquisition costs and to acquire new clients, and of course the cost of goods sold, like the procurement costs. Very often there's also logistics cost, and when it is for retail, or logistics cost, or also like sometimes also salaries for people that work in service. And so that means it's the gross margin one. When you work in a consulting environment within marketing or sales, this is definitely the areas you need to touch. If you go to a restructuring consultancy firm, there is more cost aspects here, because you could break it down to cost aspect, direct costs, indirect costs, operational expenditure, you probably heard already, or capital expenditure, and you can optimize a lot in the costs as well. Funnily, I always see that normally in Germany at least, consulting firms are very good in optimizing costs, but very, very bad normally in optimizing just growth and sales revenue. So because there's more creativity and more innovation needed. Now, what we did actually, because we train it like that, once or several times when we go out for lunch, we make little cases. And in that case, Tim actually had to make a middle case in our favorite lunch break restaurant, the Café Justus. And we were actually checking what is the market. And Tim said, okay, I understand the demand and supply. He said, he roughly counted, and he said, it's probably 50 seats in here. I think also, as I see, there's sometimes coming Lieferando, that's the German Deliveroo. And I think since there's not much competition around, and there's some offices, I think maybe it's 80% of this area that Café Justus can actually take in, or that they have as a utilization. And he calculated that it's an average 80 clients. That is the capacity of the market. Then there is average on the menu 10 euros per lunch. So it makes 800 euro. And the frequency is very easy because it has 5 times open. It's from Monday to Saturday only, but it can also run 3 shifts. So it can from 11 to 1. And that means in total, the capacity is actually higher than the 80. It is actually per year 570,000 euro. Then actually he was going over and he said, okay, acquisition. Yeah, I think they run Facebook. So he saw a Facebook ad. So it's around 450 euro that they spend per month. He saw also the loyalty card and the Lieferando fee we need to also calculate in. So acquisition cost is around 76,600. And last but not least, the cost of goods sold estimation was that it's actually €2 per dish. You have actually 5,000 euros for the 2 employees, and there's also 2,000 euro of rent. So in total, we have 259,200 euro of cost of goods sold. And that means we have a margin of 41%, that equals 234,000 euro. So that is what a consultant normally does. I know this is a lot of input, I'm so sorry for this, but it's actually a very logical, easy sequence of conclusions within a P&L, profit and loss statement. Now, we also discussed what is really levers to improve the gross margin one. Because in a capitalistic world, it's all about profit maximization. It means I want to have at the end of the year a little bit more on my account that maybe I can give it to the investor, to the shareholder. You may have also shares in some public companies. As everyone knows, for instance, here in Stuttgart, Mercedes, they gave, or it was Porsche, who was it, Porsche? It was actually Porsche, I think. They gave 9,000 euro for every employee because 2019 was such a great year. And that is exactly because then everyone was happy, because this is exactly the profit maximization. How can you increase this actually? It's very easy. In the market, you can either increase the channel traffic and going into other customer segments. Maybe you approach some retired people in the area, say to them, hey, do you not want to have a lunch break? You can also diversify the sales channels, what Café Justus already did, because you can order online through Lieferando. It's like Uber Eats. Then the average basket value is actually optimized to the so-called product, the 4 marketing piece. If you innovate new products in your product portfolio, then you increase normally also the basket value because they have different kind of lifetime values. And maybe if Café Justus starts with desserts, with some special coffee, etc., they can definitely bring some innovation in. Then it's about the pricing, of course. Every price increase hits automatically, immediately the gross margin. Then it's also about increasing the frequency. So that is very often now saying, okay, the accessibility should be better. So maybe we have a better online page. Maybe we have we have more often open, like in Café Justus' case. And also the emotional need fulfillment, so that you say in the UX UI, there is something special around it. I want to come back. Café Justus, the owner, she's so nice. She's also always so friendly. It's such great energy in the coffee to really actually improve the experience, to come people back and to also consume it more. Then there is the acquisition cost, so to optimize the marketing costs, normally also with a higher and more efficient conversion rate. And last but not least, also cost of goods sold, where marketing agencies are not so much in, neither us, then you go more towards the typical restructuring firms. And when you go down with your purchasing costs, a lot of you may know already some procurement departments where you have to pitch a tender. They have to be lower than last year. That's exactly this kind of optimization lever. And also optimize the sales costs. So that means in some areas for Café Justus, they could make now that you pre-order and that you pay with your phone before you go in. Then they probably would not need a cashier anymore, and that could save maybe some labor costs. Then Tim actually applied this indeed to Café Justus, and he said, okay, I would like to have an increase in the Lieferando channel, so by 100%, so it's 50 clients. The average basket value went up by €3 because he said it's great, and when you offer maybe some dessert. He recommended that they maybe also increase the price by 5%. Then the turnover is automatically 1.4 million instead of this 800,000. Then he recommended to open, no, it's 1,455 instead of 800, sorry. He said we opened on Saturday, and then we were getting up to the 1.25 million turnover. So it was actually 400,000 euro more than actually just before. Acquisition costs, he said, let's keep them on the same level. Let's not spend more in Facebook and marketing, because the 80% of utilization is already great. Yeah, let's take this back there. And last but not least, also cost of goods sold. So of course the volume goes up, so we have a higher spend, but it should be the same ratio. And you saw actually what we would have achieved if they would have taken us in as a consultant, 56% of gross margin instead of 41. So quite a lot more on the bank account of the owner of Café Justus. That was now a very simple case, and that's of course something that needs to be trained. It's not the easiest, but with a certain kind of logic, it's definitely very easy to train. If I would do this as an agency, I would definitely look into what is my services that we can really offer and that we want to offer, because I know you don't necessarily want to be in the cost of goods sold. So just mention this to your consultants. And of course, when you are a digital marketing agency that you develop some UI, UX products, some code as well, then you have maybe a different service, and you also map this in your service map, that it's clear what we actually can really increase in a normal business model. And as a summary, I would do first understand what is our business acumen model, and would also make a little sheet. We will share our sheet that you saw with the Café Justus as an example, but I think this needs to be really tailored to your specific needs, and that it's clear how to evaluate something like this. Then I would also look into the services that you map into the business model. I would not go down on a service map. It's more like where we're in and what we generally can do better in the business model. And I would also do, on the basis of my own business acumen canvas, some training and practices that it's really deeply anchored. We do actually normally, as Tim is one of my junior consultants, so as Julia, we normally do this always a bit in lunch breaks, on train trips, little cases. They're fun, they are easy to do. We also share some of our cases. There's also, as mentioned, some consulting books where you can take our cases, just train them and see that it runs. And very often, and very important, business acumen also to train with reclines. So when you're very experienced as a leader, take someone with you, tell them, give me later feedback how I made it, and make the shadow and train them to really get there. Any questions? No? We will also collect more questions later. I will rush because it's already 17. Then actually the very important part, the fourth skill on the pyramid that we actually discuss now about consulting skills, is the meta thinking. That is for me the understanding of all the different signals. It's about the thinking that you really understand what lies below the iceberg, and what is below the surface. So this is very important to actually connect and to bring together, especially when you work in a marketing environment. As you know, big data is not only a topic, that is definitely machine learning skill to understand more underlying signals. That's why I think also when you work in an environment, you need to understand what it is meant. Just that you know, we are even better than machines, because we could also become as a big data machine that derives on ontology. You may also know some super smart people that can just point out something very fast, because what happens in our brain, all the electric signals we take in through our 5 sensory channels, they just flow into the stomach in our second brain, in our unconsciousness, and we have only 4 to 5% of attention split. So that means that we can bring to the cognition. As soon as you bring more things from your unconsciousness on your cognition, you can make faster, intuitively, some connections and combine them. And that's the thing about meta thinking. What we understand under meta thinking is 6 different areas of doing it. this is really, I think, I was hesitating even a year ago if you could really train it. I always said it's just learning by doing, which is in a certain way true. But I think there's also some things to know about it and to train. I will go now into the depth of it. The first thing is really to understand actually the connections. So making connections and visualize is something that is very closely related. So let's assume you hear some words. So for instance, olive trees, barbecue, outdoor cushions, water hose, lawnmower, tulpas. So, I mean, or tulips, I think, I don't know. So it's actually tulips, that's it, tulips, sorry. So this is like words that just like, you hear them. And what I would do, if I would hear them, I would start to cluster. I normally stand on the whiteboard, or a lot of you that know me, I also write a lot on slides, because the whiteboard is then my slide, to really cluster what you tell me. So I try to bring the things together. So olive and trees and tulips is one thing. It's plants, right? It's logic. Barbecue and outdoor cushions is also one thing. Let's cluster it. And lawnmower and water hose is also one thing, because actually it's all about the garden. So actually this is a very simple task. And then at the board you may have, or on your screen when you do it virtually, you have several things that are actually connected together. Then actually you need to do predictions. Of course, the more data you have, the easier it is. But actually here, as mentioned, we know already it's plants, garden activities, and garden equipment. It makes sense to say it's all about home and garden equipment. So it's very easy. And we found now an umbrella terminology, because this is the three categories that we would say that it is about. So the umbrella is clear. And now you could make a bit of prediction. Maybe I listened to a conversation from Dena, which is a German home and garden center, or from Obi, you may know it, it's a DIY center that has similar categories that could be just between two category managers, between the CEO and a supplier. So actually this could be a prediction. Now, actually, the last one is really to clarify the outcome in that logic. So we think now it's an umbrella, maybe it's a Dena and it's the Obi. That's why what I would do first, I would say, I would ask them, okay, if you want to hire us as a marketing agency, we are not a marketing agency, I just make the example, what category is actually the most profitable? And then they will tell me, well, it's garden equipment. Okay, so the most profitable is the garden equipment, water hose, and lawnmower. Then I would ask which category has the highest retention. Then I would say it's plants. Okay, plants means people really will buy, because tulips only for 1 year. So the next spring they need again tulips and they come back. Okay, good. Then I will ask them, is it the goal to acquire more clients or customers? Then they say yes by 15%. And then I make the summary, very important. I say, okay, let's derive actually two simple objectives for 2020. Let's cross and upsell plant clients, garden equipment. So in the customer database or in the CRM, all the clients that are actually plant clients that buy frequently plants, we actually sell special offers from the garden equipment, because we can sell them maybe a new lawnmower, a new water hose, maybe some other things to water, etc. So that's one of the targets. And then the second one would be to increase new customers in the plant category by 15%. So we make here on the garden equipment really much more advertisement, maybe with some shopping ads, maybe with some display video ads, or also just with also maybe some PR to really increase it here. And then the client will say, sounds good. And then of course we have to go over to the value case and the conceptioning. That was now very fast. I hope you stayed with me, but it is not so difficult. And I think the most important part is to really exercise this boxing and to derive solutions. Then now I think why it is even more important to actually exercise this for your account managers is because big data analysis is the ontology that actually brings basic categories into their relations. And as everyone maybe know, Palantir is actually exactly doing this as a business model. And of course, you need a lot of data. I think the sooner or later we will have the big data topic also in marketing to really help clients to use open APIs, to see more what people post, Twitter, to really target. What would I do with meta thinking and structuring? First, I would actually assess for myself what is, how strong is the meta thinking skill yet in my team, in my agency. What we will actually provide, unfortunately not now, but in the next 2 weeks, is a little assessment that you can use. How strong is it? And to see, okay, do we need to do something better, or is it already great? Then actually we define a training. I would define a training plan how to upskill someone on individual level, because some people are very strong in meta thinking, others are maybe more detailed. And then I would really install one-on-one routines for junior to senior or senior to junior to really develop this.
Interview at 3:30 again today.
And sorry,
Teams.
no, it's just not on mute. That doesn't matter. Perfect. I think I will just mute Natasha. No. Perfect. Yeah. So this is actually to the understanding. What I would train, I would really train on a one-on-one basis. Here, this kind of exercises, I would do this frequently, and I would also challenge it. And I would also go really in with real cases. I would try to sit down. I mean, we will distribute to our blog some cases that you can do with us also very soon in our YouTube channel about these meta thinking cases. But when I would be a leader, I would also look into very simple, easy cases to always do and to exercise, because this is the A and O to really go over to conceptioning. Yeah, so this was from our session today. Basically, the 4 big areas that we discussed: relationship building, consulting mindset, business acumen, meta thinking and structuring. And next time we will go over to the next one. As mentioned, we will, because it was really fast, we will write little blog articles about again, the relationship building, to go a bit deeper down, to give you a bit more understanding, and to also give you a bit of a feeling how it works. And we also give you as a summary this checklist, what you could do as a facilitator to really train it in your team in that areas. Additionally, we will also, on the 4th of September in our second session, we will show you our offering, because it's a very important topic. We train this internally. We have a lot of own training material. Of course, we cannot give this out for free, but we sell our trainings for not a lot of money. And you're more than happy and welcome to use parts of what we use. We will also have a video training on that to really get it up to the next level, and to also train it, especially as a single contributor, but also to become a trainer for your team to implement that skill. And now I spoke so much, and we have 3 minutes left. What is your feedback, your questions? Was this too broad? Is there something very disturbing? What is the one thing that was sticky in the head? Anyone wants to share something? First, set superstructure needs a lot of work to get to the next level. Yes, you mean needs a lot of work for yourself or for us? Chris? For you, yes. But actually, this is the thing with the long-term potentiation, Chris. That's why I think you should not feel now, oh, it's too much. I think it's a journey. That's why, you know, one training is not sufficient. That we said, okay, if we do something in consulting skills, also our training will actually go for probably 8 weeks. It's not fully done yet. So you will do this for 8 weeks with a micro learning approach, step by step, because it's a continuous process, and you need to apply it, you need to understand, and it's like this to learn a new skill. It's not like, I heard it, now I know. You just know. If you want to really own it, it's a longer process. But thank you for sharing. Very good. Thank you, Chris. Anyone else to give us a bit of feedback? You can also speak, more than welcome. No?
Hello, it's Evangelos from Greece.
Hi, Evangelos.
How are you? Yeah, training, consulting mindset. We've been looking into this as an agency for quite a lot of time. So we've took several turns on training people for entrepreneurship first before training them on digital skills and this work. But this training, and I'm happy to see that it's the half of it. It's the half of the story. It's really useful. I believe that the games are making it easier. It still needs a lot of time to allow someone to mature in it, in this framework. Mm-hmm. What I'm always been missing on consulting trainings and consulting training frameworks is the quantitative parts. It's, how can you improve something if it's a skill if you cannot measure it? I haven't found anything that can measure the improvement, can quantify the improvement that I'm making as a score. It's not that it's super useful, but it creates a motive for the person that's been trained. So from your experience, training by doing things, being improved by doing things, and participating in these games, I believe it's totally gonna make an impact. But in order to set goals, in a manager-employee, let's say, relationship, what kind of goals could be set, if they should be set in each item that you described, or should it be set, in the longer term? How do you set goals in this framework? That's the high-level question.
Mm-hmm. So you're very right. It's very important to calibrate actually on what level am I and where do I need to get. So we do in these 8 areas a little quick assessment, a self-assessment, and you could also get a peer or a manager assessment, how your manager would actually assess you in the 8 areas, or even a client feedback. To calibrate where are we and how to get to the second part. And then I would frequently make self-assessment. That's the most. Also feedbacks is very important, to get feedback from peers and to see do I have more problems on business acumen, or is it more like on the storytelling and the presentation? Where am I strong and where do I need to improve? Because I think even when you're a very experienced consultant like myself, there's still areas of improvement, and it's never-ending story. So an 8-pillar assessment is quite beneficial, I guess.
Yeah. So it's not a quantitative; it's a qualitative assessment. It's this assessment would be which is the section or the skill that would be I would like to develop more. It's not like I'm in this skill, we score 8 out of 10 and we want to lift it up to 10. Every skill can be improved. So it's terms of you evaluate it in terms of priority, which first, which would be the next.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
It's useful. It's structured and it's useful.
Yeah, thank you, Evangelos. Yeah. So everyone is leaving. Unfortunately, I have also coaching. Sorry for that. It was a bit long. Thank you so much that you were in the session with us today. We will share the video as well as the material. We also publish more posts, and if you have any questions, just write either Naomi or myself directly, and we are very happy to come back to you. Thank you. And I'm very much looking forward to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Simon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.